Hello traders, good day to you all. This is Christopher Glen. Today is the 7th of August 2014 and this is a daily market review for the current market status. Earlier this morning we received several bad announcements regarding the Australian dollar. We see that the Australian dollar expressed a lot of weakness in the market. It is among the weakest currencies. We will test the strength in a second. After that, during the morning time, we received a bit of equivalent announcements regarding the pound as expected. After that, we've received good announcements regarding the Canadian dollar and good announcements regarding the dollar itself. We saw over here that indeed the Canadian dollar gained a lot of strength. The dollar itself gained some proportion of strength. We will test the dollar index again, and the European Central Bank press conference delivered weakness on behalf of the euro. After that, we do expect to see Good Friday in terms of liquidity. That the Japanese yen itself, we saw the Nikkei dropping down lately, and we saw the Japanese yen gaining strength. It'll be very interesting to see what will be the expression of these announcements, the tentative announcements regarding the monetary policy statement and the Bank of Japan press conference. Obviously, good announcements regarding interest rate and other issues regarding the Japanese yen that will deliver confirmation for movements, of course, for this Friday and for next week as well. After that, we will receive the employment change in Canada and the unemployment rate in Canada. So tomorrow, the strong, important side of economy will reflect liquidity through the Canadian market and Japanese yen at the beginning. We can't see a lot of announcements regarding the dollar. We don't have important announcements regarding the dollar tomorrow, but still good potential to see liquidity driven into the market on a variety of areas, and the Japanese yen will dictate the potential for the morning time, and after that at 1:30 we'll receive the indication regarding the Canadian dollar. Let's make an assessment regarding this potential. First of all, let's talk about the Japanese yen. The Japanese yen currencies, at the moment we can see that the pound is weak, the Swiss franc is weak, the dollar is not expressing a lot of strength, the gold is very strong at the moment, the euro is the weakest currency along with the Australian dollar. So as I said, the announcements that we've received today, the euro and the Australian dollar both delivered weakness on both currencies. The Australian dollar lost a lot of strength early this morning and just expressed an additional weakness in front of other currencies when they gained strength, and the euro joined that movement because of the European Central Bank press conference that we had approximately 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago. We can see the expression of the chart itself, the structure. The euro generally gained strength, and when we had the announcement, it dropped lower, and the Australian dollar since morning time just continues a downtrend movement expressing weakness. We can say that the euro and the Australian dollar are the weakest currencies in the market. We can say that the Japanese yen is the strongest currency, and we can say that precious metals are very strong today as well. I do expect to see precious metals expressing weakness. I do expect the dollar to regain its strength, but at the moment we can see that the entire market is dropping down. The Swiss franc, the Canadian dollar, the pound, all are expressing weakness. The Canadian dollar is not among the weakest currencies. It's reflecting almost an equivalent point, just as the New Zealand, but all the other currencies are pretty weak. So Japanese yen, Canadian dollar, New Zealand are equivalently strong, and Swiss franc, dollar, euro, Australian dollar, and pound are expressing weakness in the market. In the current status after the announcements, I want to talk about the expression of the European Central Bank press conference. Usually we see some sort of movement reflected through the charts after the announcement itself. And after that, we can see the continuance of movements reflected through the charts until we'll receive new indication. As I said earlier, we will receive new indication tomorrow regarding the Japanese yen and regarding the Canadian dollar at 1:30. So later on this evening and into tomorrow's morning, I do expect to see that the same concept remains as it is right now, just that we've got the question of the Japanese yen, whether it will continue expressing weakness. The Nikkei and a strong Japanese yen will reflect through the charts. Let's go to the dollar index and let's see what we've got over there. Okay, so the dollar index, I've been talking about this structure over here. I said that we've received a third wave an A, B, C downtrend movement. That's the fourth wave. A 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the impulse fifth wave. And from this moment, I said that I'm expecting to see weakness. So we've received impulse movement, 5 waves dropping down. We've received an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave. And right now, the assessment is to I'm waiting to see an additional downtrend movement. A logical pullback of this chart will be toward the 81.2.3 area. That will express an additional weakness on behalf of the dollar in the markets, and after that I'm expecting to see an uptrend movement. So as I said, tomorrow we've got no indication regarding the US economy. Again, not an important announcement. We've got several mid or even weak announcements, not so important announcements, but still other areas, other aspects in the market may deliver an additional confirmation, additional liquidity that will add to the strength or weakness of the dollar, and therefore we will see the reflection over here. Let's look at the important charts for tomorrow, which are the dollar versus the Japanese yen. Let me open that in a new tab. No, I can't do that. Okay, so two very important charts for tomorrow will be the dollar versus the Canadian dollar and the dollar versus Japanese yen, because we've got a lot of questions regarding the dollar strength at the moment on one end, and we've got question regarding the potential of the Japanese yen and the Canadian dollar. Let's look at an hourly chart or even larger time frame. Okay, and we can say that the dollar versus Japanese is forming a good potential for climbing higher. And why am I saying that? Because we've received an impulse movement climbing higher. We received an A, B, and C pattern. Since then, we've climbed higher, and then we've received another A, B, C pullback, a potential of an uptrend movement. There's a good potential to see a stronger dollar in the markets in front of the Japanese yen, and because of that, my assessment is that the indication regarding the Japanese yen, which will be a tentative, not a specific indication, will reflect weakness on behalf of the Japanese yen, will add to the strength of the Nikkei, and therefore I expect the dollar versus the Japanese yen to climb higher. On the other hand, analyzing the dollar versus the Canadian dollar, you know what, let's put the dollar versus the Canadian dollar, let's put the dollar versus Japanese yen on top of the dollar versus the Canadian dollar. We can see that there is some sort of correlation. Obviously, the correlation is motivated only by the strength or weakness of the dollar, and you can see that as the dollar versus Japanese yen drop down significantly, that's the red line over here, forming an A, a B, and a C pattern. We've received a sideways fluctuation level on the dollar versus the Canadian dollar. Very important image will be to analyze long-term movements on the dollar versus Japanese yen, dollar versus the Canadian dollar, to make an assessment regarding the support and resistance line for a longer period. Let's go to a daily chart. And over here, I've been talking about this chart specifically for several days. I've been predicting this movement that we had over here. I've predicted this entire corrective pattern, and you can read all about it from the article that I wrote regarding the dollar versus the Canadian dollar. I've been following this asset for the past 7 months, indicating the potential of each and every movement that we saw already. And looking at this image, we know, again, this is the assessment according to my analysis, that we've received the third wave over here. We've received an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave dropping down. And from this moment, I'm expecting to see an uptrend that will cross this last peak over here at 1.12, 1.126 approximately. So analyzing this specific pullback, and again, if you'll pay attention, we've crossed the trend line above this downtrend fourth wave corrective pattern very nicely. We first made a pullback, that's 1, 2, and since then we've crossed that significantly with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the, according to the elite wave, this is the first wave, the second wave, the third wave, a fourth wave, and a fifth should climb up. That's the beginning of the fifth wave that is expected to climb higher and to cross the peak back in 1.127. So at the moment I'm pointing up on the dollar versus the Canadian dollar, meaning a stronger dollar and a weaker Canadian dollar. But because that is a daily chart, we've analyzed the dollar index just a second ago, and I said that I'm expecting the dollar index to reveal a bit of weakness before we will continue higher, expressing strength on behalf of the dollar in the next several days. So this is a daily chart. When we're talking about the daily chart, we're talking about cycles of weeks. Analyzing the daily chart, let's go to 4 to 8 hours. And here we can see again the 1, the 2, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the third wave of the first. And right now we're in a pullback. So there's still a good potential to see downtrend movement, a corrective pattern completing itself around the 108, 109. It's a logical pullback. And then I'm expecting to see an uptrend movement, meaning that at the moment, if we'll receive downtrend movement on this chart, then the announcement tomorrow that will be expressed regarding the Canadian dollar at 130 is expected to express weakness on behalf of the Canadian dollar, which will put this chart higher. And vice versa, if we'll keep the fluctuation level and we won't drop down lower, then the potential is to drop lower according to the announcement, meaning a stronger Canadian dollar. So only the structure itself will reveal what's the potential, but at the moment, according to the indicators, it seems like we're on our way higher on this chart. I'd like to wish you all the best with your trades. I will conduct another analysis tomorrow regarding the new scenario and what is my expectations for tomorrow, just before the announcements. From here, I'd like to wish you all the best with your trades. Have a pleasant day and bye-bye.